another part that just viewing it from the outside, I mean, you talked a lot about you feel like the market is a bit bearish. You've been on CNBC. You don't like the outlooks, and then you had this like wonderful comeback where I think you cited Eminem and you just went like, okay, I was wrong, but okay, I'm back. And I think it
Yeah.
goes back to the principle that you're not afraid of being wrong. I mean, there's nothing wrong about having a mistake in the market because that's the way it's going to go anyways. But the big danger is to never change your mind. So maybe can you talk a bit about that principle to not be so afraid about judging the market the wrong way? Just don't stay wrong and change and adapt if you need to.
Okay, it's such a critical point, and again, just lucky to have lots of great mentors, and one of my early mentors had the line, right, which is, being wrong, totally fine. Staying wrong, not fine. You have to have the ability to change your mind, and I've tweeted this and talked about it many times, in that winners lose or fail or are wrong way more than losers. I mean, it's just not even close. And it's because winners aren't afraid of being wrong, of failing. And so they try more new things. They put on more positions. They take more risks. And the key, back to that original wisdom from Soros that I shared with Pomp, that it's not whether you're right or wrong. It's how much money you make when you're right and how much money you lose when you're wrong. And so the best of the best, the Julian Robertsons, and where I got that wisdom from about pressing winners press winners. The losers cut losers, right? There's the famous picture of Paul Tudor Jones in his dorm room at Virginia with that on the wall. So that one's easy, right? Admitting your mistakes fast, that's the most important thing, because then a small loss doesn't turn into a big loss. Pressing your winners came from, I've been lucky. I've backed pretty much every spin out from Julian Robertson's shop, over the years, whether it was Blue Ridge or Lone Pine or Maverick, Tiger Global, all these things. We invested with these guys. And I went and I got to talk to them. And I have the, books full of notes. In fact, I should probably put it into a book someday, talking to these incredible investors, now manage 10% of the long short money on the planet. They're all trained by the same guy. I said, what made Julian so great? And without fail, they always said, oh, he had the ability to double up. Most people double down, right? Most people are so afraid of admitting they're wrong. They say, no, I'm right and the market's wrong. So they buy a stock for $10 and it goes to 8, and they say, oh, I'll buy more, and then it goes to 5. I say, oh, I'll buy more. No, okay, you're wrong. Right? You made a mistake. And the key is that Julian had the ability, he buys at 10 and it goes to 20. He's like, okay, buy more. I'm like, no, shouldn't we take profits? And if you look at the history of most investors, and Peter Lynch talks about this, they water their weeds and they pull their flowers. So as soon as they make a little bit of profit, they're selling because they're afraid they're going to lose the profit. Instead, when their weeds start to really flourish, or their mistakes start to get big, they double down. And that's the worst possible thing to do. So I really do try to focus on making lots of investments, partnering with lots of great management teams and lots of great investors. And then if things don't work out, you sell and move on to the next idea. And I think part of it is, if you're intellectually curious, if you've got a fast motor, you've always got ideas, right? I always have ideas. They may not all be good ideas, and that's okay. You can try them out. And the more things you try and the more positions you put on, the more chances you have to win. And if you press those winners, then they can become a big part of your portfolio and your net worth. So again, kind of a meandering response, but there are a lot of pieces of it that are important. One is that ability to, I'm wrong. And there's nothing wrong with being wrong. And that's one of the things I don't like about Twitter, right? Is I love Twitter by and large. It's awesome. I mean, you and I are talking because of Twitter, and there's lots of things that go on because of Twitter. But the one thing I don't like is, a troll will do a search and they'll, find something you said 3 years ago and they'll say, oh, you were wrong. I'm like, really? You think I haven't changed my mind like 7 times in the last 3 years on that particular position? It's not like I put a position on and then I never changed my mind. But Lord Keynes, he was giving a speech, and next week he gave a speech and he changed something. And there was a guy who was at both speeches in the front row, and he says, Lord Keynes, last week you said exactly the opposite. And he says, sir, when the facts change, I change my mind. What do you do? Of course, right? If new information comes along or the world changes, you have to be able to change your mind and not be so wed to being right. And one of my other favorite lines, there's a great hedge fund guy that we've worked with for many, many years. And he had a really unique background in that his family owned a cable TV business. And he kind of came up through there. Then he went to business school. And then he said, I don't want to work in the family business anymore. I want to be a hedge fund manager. And he's very successful, multi-billion-dollar fund. And he has this poster as you walk in their office. And it says, with every investment, we get a little richer or a little wiser, never both. And it's such genius, because when you make an investment and it goes up, you learn nothing because you don't analyze it. You say, oh, look how smart I am. Oh, so this game's so easy. But when it goes down, now you're focusing. What did I do wrong? You analyze it and you actually learn from it. So I think that's critically important, is to be able to admit you're wrong, to not let small losses turn into big losses, and learn from it. And one last pithy statement, because I'm actually staring at the book behind you on the shelf, which is Coach Smith, who was the famous basketball coach at UNC, has this great line, Ralph, right? When you make a mistake, you need to recognize it, admit it, learn from it, and then the most important thing, forget it.